Hello guys, this is your friend Narutoedits and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto found strength in exile after Sasuke's escape? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel Narutoedits 11 for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the wonderful fanfic. A slight clenching noise could be heard as fingertips came into contact with metal. The hand shook slightly with its white knuckles grip on the object in the hand of the holder. The object was being held as if it were the most precious item in the world to its wielder. I'm sorry, a voice of an older woman said while the wielder of the object lifted it along with his head toward the source of the voice, blue eyes filled with confusion, anger, and even a hint of betrayal. Yal met with the slightly distraught face of the voice. You're sorry. I just don't get it. What the hell did I do? The voice of the young man raised while the older voice sighed. The failure of the mission to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha has been attributed to your inability to do what needed to be done due to the state of your relationship with him. Not to mention the potential threat of the QB sealed within you being unleashed again, the older voice said while she could barely look at the boy trembling in front of her. It was official. Tsunade, one of the 3 great Sannin and currently the 5th Hokage of the village hidden in leaves, hated her job. The near-endless piles of paper were one thing. The political ass-kissing of the council to keep the peace was another. But this moment above all else made her hate her job more than anything in the world. She wanted to run. Tsunade wanted nothing more than to hold the boy standing in front of her, hold him close and turn her back on all of those that wanted to hurt him. She wanted to cry for him. However, she couldn't allow him to see any of it. Naruto Uzumaki didn't deserve this cruel fate. The village council decided in a manner that left her powerless to act against it. She had been practically forced to make this decision and she was unable to change a thing. Despite being the Hokage, the greatest ninja in the village, the one that everyone looked to for prosperity and protection, the very same kind of ninja that the boy in front of her strove to be. She felt useless. That's a load of crap. I fought Sasuke tooth and nail to bring him back. I just wasn't. Naruto trailed off while his grip on the object in his hand tightened before his fingers slowly relaxed. His arm went limp in front of him. His blonde hair slightly covered his face while he exhaled slowly from his nose in an attempt to calm himself. I wasn't strong enough, Naruto said while Tsunade closed her eyes, taking her own breath to compose herself before she opened them again. This punishment will be effective immediately. A Jonin has been assigned to oversee your departure and is currently at your residence where you will pack any necessities and be escorted to the village gate. Tsunade said while the teen in front of her looked toward her with a pained expression. Granny. Naruto trailed off while Tsunade briefly broke eye contact looking down at her desk. I'm sorry Naruto, you'll have to leave it. Tsunade said while the blonde looked toward the object in his hands before his grip clenched around it. He wanted to slam it down. He wanted to yell at the top of his lungs and call bull on this entire process, however all of those feelings were overwhelmed by the overwhelming feeling of dread. Completely swallowing any words of protests the boy had. The blonde placed the object on the desk of the Hokage while Tsunade struggled to keep eye contact on Naruto. The blonde's head quickly lifted, his blue eyes directly meeting Tsunade's while she embraced her well-deserved verbal lashing. Hey Granny. Naruto trailed off while his fingers trailed on top of the metal of the object in his hand resting on the desk. Yes? Tsunade asked, nearly failing to hide the emotion in her own voice hidden while her eyes widened, getting a look at his face. Thanks, for everything, Naruto said in a defeated tone. His tears silently ran down his while Tsunade felt her heart shatter to pieces. His hand finally left the object on her desk. He turned around leaving Tsunade only the back of his jacket to look at while she reached her hand toward his retrayer. Ting form, the words that she wanted to speak clung to her throat. By decree of the Hidden Leaf Village of the Land of Fire, Naruto Uzumaki was hereby banished from the village due to his failure to retrieve the last Uchiha of the Hidden Leaf as well as the danger his existence poses on the village. Being the container of the QB. This is what the official records will state. Wood splintered underneath the grip of Tsunade's hand while thunder clapped rumbling the sky with a similar fury that the blonde Hokage felt toward her position, her hand that had been forced, and even those who she not. EW would celebrate upon his departure. Tsunade hated her job, not just because of the piles of nearly endless paperwork, not just because of the political ass-kissing she had to do with the council, but because she had become the reason for that look on his face. The boy who had faced down her stubbornness as well as forces that were far beyond his own power, even the darkness that was left in her heart from her previous losses from years in the world. Without a chance in hell, yet he had saved her. How did she repay him? By getting rid of him to appease the public. The sound of the door closing finally allowed that sickening sob to exit her throat. She could have chuckled at the irony. Every time she had loved, she had lost just as quickly. Now she was directly responsible for it. Tsunade quietly sobbed while her other hand stamped the sheet of paper on her desk, making the order official. She didn't dare look up at what Naruto had left on her desk while the few rays of light hidden by the storm clouds in the sky shined on the object. The symbol of the leaf shone on Naruto's headband in the sliver of sunlight as Tsunade trembled while her desk continued to crack under her grip. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. -5 days earlier, a door slid open, revealing Tsunade with her other hand pushing some of her hair out of her face. Following behind her was a clearly nervous Shizune who looked around slightly before Tsunade groaned. Nearly the entirety of the council is here. Did something big happen? Shizune asked before Tsunade shrugged. Who knows, probably a civilian squabble. Just relax and let the old people gripe, gar hangovers suck. Tsunade said while the black-haired woman gave her mentor a look mixed with slight worry and exhaustion from her typical antics that she has unfortunately become adjusted to under her tutorage. Only she of all people would walk into a possible super important village council meeting hungover. Usu. Ali Shizune would have helped her deal with her mentor's hangover as part of her medical ninjutsu focusing on illnesses practice. At least that is what Tsunade always called it, despite Shizune always knowing it was an excuse to make her feel better. This time, however, the summons were urgent, meaning they had little time to even speak amongst each other before leaving to the conference, leading them directly to the meeting area for the elders and council. Shizune couldn't shake off her nervous feeling that was creeping over her entire frame, almost as if something bad was about to happen. Maybe it was because of the multiple super important faces in the room, or maybe it was because of the fact that Tsunade was obviously in not the best shape to properly participate due to her nightly escapades, but something felt off to the young woman. Tsunade, good of you to join us. We have much to discuss, hopefully keeping this meeting quick. Homura, one of the teammates of her own sensei, the former third Hokage, said while another older woman nodded her head. This one being Koharu. She was also on a team with Hiruzen, and together they were the and heads of the council, meaning they were both pains in the ass to deal with. However, the one face that made Tsunade pay a bit more attention was one that had been covered by bandages. Danzo Shimura, one of the village elders and perhaps the most stubborn and selfish old bastard Tsunade has ever had. The displeasure of meeting Lady Tsunade. Danzo greeted in a calm, almost glad tone, one that Tsunade knew was riddled with falseness. She resisted the urge to scoff before she looked toward the other two elder counselors. All due respect, but what is he doing here? Tsunade asked while Danzo chuckled. I'm merely here as a representative of the people, you could say. They could always use a proper voice. A village is a family after all. Danzo said, making Tsunade's eye twitch at the elder's use of her former teacher's words, while Homura nodded his head. Nzo brings with him a valuable opinion in regard to our discussion for today. Homura said while Koharu slowly nodded her head in agreement to his words. Tsunade quickly understood what kind of meeting this was going to be. Shizune, leave, Tsunade said while Shizune gave Tsunade a look of confusion. Shizune, wordless, reacted. She wanted to refuse in case something happened, but she could feel the way the atmosphere of the room suddenly changed. As much as she wanted to be there to support her mentor, she knew that she had no place here in this meeting. Shizune bowed her head before she turned to exit out of the room while Tsunade took her seat at the table with the other elders. What's on the agenda today? More discussions of war potential. I believe I made it clear that war is the absolute last option I would resort to for anything. Tsunade said, rubbing circles on her temple, hoping that would shut him up as usual. Lady Tsunade, our discussion today is in regard to Naruto Uzumaki. Quote, Koharu said while Tsunade suddenly felt her throat go dry for a moment before she sat up fully in her seat, now fully concentrated. Hangover be damned. The blonde's brown eyes immediately flicked over toward Danzo's one exposed eye, looking back at her. He was watching her. That old bastard already had some kind of plan up his sleeve, she could feel it. What about him? Tsunade asked while keeping her composure. Koharu looked toward Homura before the man looked toward Tsunade. We believe he should be restricted in his movements. Homura said while Tsunade raised an eyebrow. On what grounds? Tsunade asked while Koharu lifted one of her fingers. His recklessness for one, not to mention his most recent failure in his mission to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha, nearly the children of multiple village heads killed. While no one was killed, admittedly it was still a massive risk. The slap on the wrist was too light of a punish for the mission failure. Koharu stated while Tsunade's eyes widened. You can't be serious, they are all fully fledged shinobi. Extremely capable ones. Every shinobi is fully prepared for death on the battlefield. That's nothing to blame a single shinobi on. Tsunade said while Danzo placed his hand on the table gently. Pointless deaths. Death is one thing and a shinobi should die a death that benefits the lives they swore to protect. However, Sasuke, while being an asset to the village, wasn't worth nearly all the lives of those who will inherit the village. Certainly not for a failed mission. Danzo said while Tsunade gritted her teeth. I'm in agreement with Danzo. Had the mission been successful, then admittedly even we could have turned an eye. However, if they had died and the mission was still a failure, then the deaths would have been pointless and we would have had major losses. Quote, Homura stated while Koharu nodded. Naruto needs to be reprimanded for his failure in some way. Honestly, you've been far too light on the boy, considering what he is. Koharu finished while Tsunade gritted her teeth, fighting back the growl in her throat. Naruto Uzumaki is a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. While I can agree he deserves some kind of punishment, I hardly believe that restricting his capabilities as a ninja is the proper answer. Tsunade raised her voice before she quickly closed her mouth again, looking toward Danzo, whose expression had become a tiny smile. The blonde Hokage had screwed up, she could feel it in that damned smile of his. I'm in agreement with Tsunade, Danzo said while the rest of the room gave him looks of shock. She's passionate about the well-being of the shinobi, and yes, officially Naruto Uzumaki is a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, so he hardly deserves to be restricted, Danzo said while Tsunade merely blinked at the man. She had no idea what he was going on about. She was expecting a debate full of resistance from Danzo. Instead he seemed rather accepting. No, something was off. Instead, as a leaf shinobi who failed this mission, nearly costing most of the village heads their children, the punishment is obvious. Danzo said. Tsunade's glare never left his one visible eye while Koharu and Homura looked toward the man with bated breath while he slammed his bandaged fist on the table. Exile, Danzo said while Tsunade froze for a second, looking toward the stoic man. Her head turned toward Homura and Koharu, who to her worst fears didn't seem to be against the idea at all. Tsunade gritted her teeth, standing up out of her seat. You can't be serious, Exile. He's just a child, Tsunade yelled while Danzo gave her an apathetic look. He's the container of the Kyuubi. His very existence is a threat, especially given his own history with the leaf. Who knows, maybe the real reason why Sasuke got away was because Naruto deliberately let him go, Danzo commented snidely while Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the elder. Danzo, you know that's not true in the slightest. Quote, Tsunade growled while Homura looked down toward the table. We also don't know if it isn't true. They were both friends. There could have been a bias there, allowing Sasuke to leave as he wished. Homura commented coldly while Koharu nodded her head, meaning that the mission to retrieve him would have indeed been pointless, including any deaths that could have been involved. Koharu commented while Tsunade felt a wave of sickness wash over her. She had personally seen Naruto's injuries. That boy should have died twice over from what she had to heal. He had given it his all, and this man had the audacity to undermine that. Naruto is still a leaf shinobi. It should be precisely because he's the container of the Kyuubi that he remains in the village. Allowing a Jinchuriki to the devices of the rest of the world is more dangerous than a foolish kid, Tsunade argued while Koharu and Homura's eyes widened slightly. Lady Tsunade brings up a really good point. While yes, Naruto does deem a threat to the village, the fact that we have the Kyuubi here means we can monitor it, Homura commented, prompting Koharu to nod. Tsunade's brow rose watching Koharu lift a finger. Unless there's a reliable method to eliminate the Kyuubi as a threat for certain, then Naruto being away from the village could be more detrimental than beneficial. Koharu said while Tsunade looked toward the two elders while the sick feeling she had slowly vanished. Tsunade slowly sat back in her seat, giving Danzo a challenging look. You'll have to do better than that, Danzo. Naruto is crucial despite how much you or anyone else may hate him. I'm not backing down so easily. Tsunade thought to herself while she waited for the expression on Danzo's face to crack. Instead she felt a chill. The tiny never left his face, it only grew. Lady Tsunade, have you ever walked around the village of the Hidden Leaf? Just a stroll, to greet its people. To watch the families working and playing? Danzo asked while Tsunade tilted her head in confusion toward him. Of course, I don't understand the relevance that has here. Tsunade said while Homura and Koharu were also confused, looking toward their fellow elder. Everything that I do is for the peace and prosperity of this village. It is my home. The place that I've bled for and killed for in order to protect from those who wished to harm it. The only thing I have ever wished for is what's best for the village. Danzo said while Homura and Koharu looked toward each other while Tsunade was trying to understand his angle. Ikaku Yumi no. Danzo said while Tsunade blinked. Danzo. Tsunade said in a warning tone while the man merely gave her a look. Kasai Uchiha, Hana Izukami. Danzo continued while both Koharu and Homura's faces slowly morphed into somber ones. Goro Masato, Kohari Yumi no. Danzo said while Tsunade roughly placed her hand on the table. Danzo, what's the relevance of this? Tsunade asked while still confused while his dark-colored eye made direct contact with hers coldly. Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. Danzo finished while Tsunade's blood ran cold. Those names. They were all victims of the attack of the Kyuubi, precious lives that were a part of our family as a village snuffed out by that beast on a whim. They died protecting their village, and all of that for what? A boy who only caused trouble. An unpredictable ninja unable to be controlled to properly contribute to atone for all of the destruction wreaked on the village. Quote, Danzo said while Homura looked away while Koharu kept her eyes on the table. He was just a baby, Danzo, that hatred is unwarranted. He still contributes to this day as a ninja by working harder than anyone else. Naruto doesn't need to be controlled. Tsunade said while Danzo blinked. Oddly enough, Lady Tsunade, I agree with you. He was a baby and a sacrifice used to protect the village left to us by the fourth Hokage. However, have you stopped to consider what those same families you've observed had lost? Watching that boy walk freely and cause havoc around the village while they lay flowers on the graves of their loved ones. Danzo said while Tsunade went quiet. The elder pulled a couple of scrolls from his clothing before unraveling them on the table. The scrolls contained lists of names from across the Leaf Village. One of them was labeled, Stay, the other one was labeled, Go. A quick survey from the entirety of the Leaf Village, just to see what the public thinks about Naruto Uzumaki. I will say I'm impressed. This was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Danzo said while the three other individuals looked at the scrolls. Tsunade paled seeing the names on the Go marked scroll outnumbering the ones on the Stay scroll. How do we know these aren't doctored? Tsunade asked while Koharu gave her a look. Danzo wouldn't stoop so low as to do that. Koharu raised her voice while Danzo put his hand up, silencing the anger of the older woman. Koharu, while I appreciate your faith, it appears that Lady Tsunade has grown an attachment to the boy, so much so it even seems like she's ready to ignore the concerns of the people to protect him. Admirable, I'll admit. Quote, Danzo said while Tsunade gave the man a death glare. She wanted nothing more than to wring his neck there and then, but Koharu and Homura kept their eyes on her. He was trying to make her look bad in front of them. He was manipulating their faith in her. With a few words and the names of the people, Danzo had turned every person in the room with her into an obstacle. Tsunade was silent for a few moments before she narrowed her eyes at Danzo before putting her hand on the table pushing the scrolls. Naruto Uzumaki is a hero of the Hidden Leaf. Not only is the container of the Kyuubi, but he has repeatedly sacrificed life and limb to protect his home even though it despised him. During the Chunin exams, let it be known that the one who defeated Shukaku the Ichibi was not Sasuke Uchiha but Naruto, who bested the beast and protected the village from ruin. Tsunade said while Koharu and Homura's eyes widened. Even Danzo raised an eyebrow at this. This information was hidden from the people in order to maintain peace as instructed by this very council after the death of the third Hokage. Tsunade said while she stood up again looking toward Danzo. It goes public. Tsunade said while Homura turned toward her, if the village discovers a tailed beast had attacked it would send them into a panic. Homura said while Tsunade shook her head at the older man before she spoke. They will know that Naruto Uzumaki protected them, that he gave it his all to ensure they would live. This new era we are moving forward in will not be paved in hatred. Naruto's contributions should have him honored as Ero, not as a monster. Tsunade explained while Koharu and Homura looked toward the calm expression of the woman standing in front of them. She dared him. The blonde Hokage dared him with her eyes that were kept narrowed directly on him. The Leaf Village's shackles of loneliness and prejudice end with me. Tsunade said while Homura and Koharu were taken aback by the passion in the Hokage's voice. She seemed completely willing to bear that burden despite still being so new to her position. As Danzo said, it was admirable. But, hatred, you bring up a good point. However, you have to remember that hatred goes both ways. We call Jinchuriki containers, however their relationships are actually more complex than just that the Biju are sentient creatures after all. Quote, Danzo said while he stood from his seat, meeting Tsunade at her level while she glared at him. I'll ask you this, do you remember what the last thing those who died remembered from the attack, better yet what those are left remember from the attack? Danzo said while Tsunade gritted her teeth while the man kept eye contact with her. A man riding the top of the Kyuubi as it completely destroyed everything in its path the minute it was unleashed. Danzo said while his hand reached into his sleeve pulling out pictures before he dropped them to the table without breaking eye contact with Tsunade. Have you ever stopped to wonder, was Naruto Uzumaki ever truly alone? Danzo asked before Tsunade's eyes looked toward the pictures on the table in front of her. Her blood ran cold. It almost felt as if she was drained of strength while she took a look at the pictures before she trembled. The blonde Hokage slowly looked back toward Danzo while Homura and Koharu looked at the pictures on the desk with horror. The pictures featured Shukaku from the Chunin exams and his opponent was Naruto Uzumaki as Tsunade had said in her speech. Riding on the back of the Kyuubi. These are fake. Tsunade tried to argue while her words fell on deaf ears. Imagine being Naruto Uzumaki just for a moment. The village hates you for being a monster. No one to turn to at all, except for the monster sealed within his own body. Feeding him its hatred, his only friend, and it wants nothing more than to take vengeance on the leaf for sealing it away. Danzo said while Tsunade's mouth went dry. We have no idea what kind of things that the Kyuubi has said to the boy, but from what it looks like they may have the kind of ion ship where they can work together. Two different forces, the same kind of hatred. Danzo said while Tsunade shook her head, that's ridiculous, Naruto wouldn't let hatred overtake him. Especially not from that monster. Tsunade raised her voice while Danzo gave her a look, his expression eerily calm. How do you know? Danzo asked while Tsunade gritted her teeth again. A shinobi long forgotten once said that hatred was born to protect love. His hatred may have been born to protect himself from the atrocities the villages have committed against him. Danzo said while Homura stood up. Quote, I am in agreement with Danzo, while the boy will be recognized for his efforts he should be banished from the village. His potential relationship with the Kyuubi makes him a massive threat to the safety of the village. If anybody would be close enough to conspire with the demon it would be that boy. Homura said while Tsunade looked toward him while Koharu stood up as well. This is the best punishment for a shinobi. The only other peace we could hope for the boy during exile is potentially his death, meaning we can be rid of the Kyuubi as well. Koharu said while Tsunade stood back up. This monster is a monster of our own making. If the Leaf Village's hatred is the root of Naruto's own, then as the Leaf it is up to us to end that vicious cycle. That boy is strong enough to face this. I know he is, his heart is good, hatred isn't going to make things better. Quote, Tsunade said, her own voice beginning to choke up while Danzo gave her a look filled with pity. A Hokage does what is best for their village, not based on faith but off of facts. In order to protect their families, to protect the people, to never have another child in the air again to witness and riding a monster to bring them death. Danzo trailed off while Tsunade's breathing began to quicken. You know what must be done. Danzo said while Tsunade fell back into her seat while the gazes bore into her. If this proves to be too much for you, then feel more than free to choose a success. Saw who is more capable of carrying out such a hard decision. Danzo said while Tsunade glared at the man. He won completely. She hated it so much. Tsunade stood up before she quickly turned back toward the door to exit the room, trying to calm herself. By the way, about the Chunin exams incident. Everything has already been made known to the public. It's not fair to keep information away from the villagers as you said. I do mean everything, Danzo said, placing emphasis on his last word. Tsunade leaned against the door frame, feeling weakened while it took everything in her not to tear the room apart. They were watching, and it was what he wanted after all. With a broken heart, Tsunade left the room to make sure it was fully shattered to pieces. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. Current day. Naruto could feel the way that the looks of the villagers burned into him, as if he was a monster, just like it has always been, if not worse. If he had to guess, it must have had something to do with the latest issue of the newspaper that was delivered at the beginning of the week. The one that featured him on top of a transformed Gamabunter as the QB. Probably not the best decision looking back at it, not like he had a lot of choice in the heat of the moment. A flying rock pelted into the side of Naruto's head hard while the boy slowly looked toward the direction where he rock came from to spot who threw it, while the blood from the new cut ran down his face past his cheek. The young boy kept his eyes glared at Naruto while the blonde blinked. Naruto remembered himself as a little kid again, while the other kids back then pelted him with rocks on his birthday as some kind of messed up tradition. Naruto clenched his eyes shut tightly as he walked. The glares from the villagers felt heavier and heavier as Naruto walked, before his walk became a run and his running became jumps. Unfortunately for the blonde. He wouldn't ever be able to fly away from this pain. Naruto eventually made it back to his apartment, or what used to be his apartment. He looked at the section of building he lived in, noticing it had been vandalized to the surprise of no one. Naruto walked up to his room, pushing the door open before meeting his escort. Yo! A gray-haired man greeted while Naruto's eyes widened. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said slowly while the man walked toward the young blonde before Naruto turned away. Or should I just say Kakashi now? Naruto said sadly before he was suddenly taken into an embrace. Kakashi. Naruto said in a confused tone while the man hugged the blonde tightly. In all of his time knowing Kakashi, he knew the man was never the overly affectionate type. I'm so sorry. Kakashi apologized before Naruto felt himself tearing up before he hugged the man back, finally allowing himself to cry while the gray-haired man held onto his student, his own wrath only being contained by his duty. I'll make sure you're safe all the way up until after you leave the gates. It's the least I can do. Kakashi said while Naruto nodded into his chest. The gray-haired Jonin felt like a failure of a sensei holding his former student close. However, in the eyes of the village, he had been made into a monster all over again. And there was nothing he could do about it. So, I guess they destroyed pretty much everything, right? Naruto said while Kakashi nodded his head, the minute the news was announced. Hell, probably even before I was assigned to escort you. Guess that's on me for being late again. Kakashi said while Naruto shook his head. Don't beat yourself up about it, I'm not surprised. I'm a monster after all. Quote, Naruto said while Kakashi narrowed his eye, I don't believe that. Kakashi said while Naruto looked out the shattered window. They do. Naruto said while Kakashi went silent, I do have at least some good news. Kakashi said, trying to lift the mood while Naruto raised an eyebrow. The gray-haired man revealed a small potted white-colored flower to the blonde, causing his eye to widen. This hardy little thing survived the onslaught. I like to think it means something. Perhaps a good omen. Quote, Kakashi said while Naruto gingerly grabbed the potted flower before holding it close to him with all the care in the world. The flower brought back memories. A younger Naruto was walking back to his apartment after academy was over. The same glares he had always faced made contact with him. He tried his best to ignore them, but he never really could. There was one look that was odd to him. Hey weirdo. A voice called out while Naruto stopped. He turned toward the voice, spotting short platinum blonde hair and bluish-green eyes. The girl was holding a pot in her hand with a small growing G-sprout in it. Hello. Naruto said while the girl looked around before coming closer. Great news, you've been picked to be my first customer. The girl exclaimed while Naruto tilted his head. Customer? Naruto asked while the girl nodded. Yup. Ino Yamanaka from Yamanaka Flowers. When I grow up I'm going to work there and be the most beautiful ninja at the same time. Ino declared while Naruto just gave her a blank look. So why are you talking to me? If you're so great then why am I your first customer? Is it some kind of dangerous plant? Naruto asked cautiously while the girl huffed. No. Flowers are beautiful, not dangerous. Also you're my first customer because I just picked you randomly. Ino said while Naruto sighed. Nobody else wanted the flower, huh? Guess he and it had that in common. Okay. Naruto said while Ino blinked at him. Okay. Ino said while Naruto nodded his head. The flower, I'll take it. Naruto said digging into his pockets for Gama-chan while his fellow blonde just blinked at him. My don, hey why are you crying? Quote. Naruto said while the other blonde was wiping her face with her free hand. You really want it? Ino asked while Naruto nodded. I do. Naruto said while Ino shook her head. Here. Ino exclaimed, pushing the flower pot into his hands while Naruto nearly dropped it. Whoa wait, I don't think I have enough to. Naruto was cut off by a finger being pushed against his lips. You get a weirdo discount just this once, next time I'm charging you double. Ino exclaimed again while Naruto sweet dropped. Double. Naruto yelled out before the two kids started laughing. Take care of that flower, I worked hard on it, weirdo. Ino yelled before she quickly ran off. Naruto reached out toward her but she was out of reach. His attention went back to the little sprout while Naruto teared up. Wasn't this kind of like a birthday present? Naruto held the pot in his hands in the current days while sighing in relief. He looked at the fully bloomed flower. Honestly, it had bloomed multiple times but Naruto made sure to take care of it so it would keep blooming. He could hardly believe that something so precious survived. He was thankful. Kakashi, I'm pretty sure there's nothing left here for me to take. We gotta make a stop before I go. Naruto said while Kakashi nodded his head. Wherever you want to go. Kakashi agreed while Naruto looked at his old apartment one more time. This place had always been a dump. However, when he really thinks about it, he grew up here. He was genuinely going to miss it. Let's go, Naruto said while Kakashi looked at his former student and nodded quietly before they departed. A cracked picture frame with Team 7 smiling in it laid amongst the rest of the ruin Naruto once called his home. A little further ahead of Naruto's former home, Kakashi stood by while Naruto approached the store doors. Yamanaka's Flowers was read at the top of the building while Naruto thought about opening the door. His hand stopped, however. If she wasn't there, then how was he supposed to give it back? Naruto looked at the door before he sighed, placing the potted flower beside the entrance before he jogged back toward Kakashi, who waited for him. Naruto lingered for a moment longer before he then began to walk away from the building, the petals of the white clover swaying slightly at the breeze that had passed through it. A simple, "Thank you," was written on the pot. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. Kakashi looked out at the wilderness past the gate of the Leaf Village. He looked toward Naruto, who walked toward the wilderness. Wait. Kakashi said while Naruto stopped, turning toward his former sensei. Naruto, I was a pretty bad teacher. I should have been there for you all a bit more than I was. This is my fault in part. Kakashi said while Naruto looked at the Jonin. Kakashi, Naruto was cut off by another bag being thrown at him. The blonde caught the bag, noticing the scrolls that were stuffed inside of it. His blue eyes blinked while Kakashi sighed. There are the necessities, food, water, and because I'm so nice there are even a few surprises that I'll let you find out for yourself in there. I really wish there was more I could do for you, Naruto. If you end up hating me, I won't even. Kakashi was cut off by a running hug from the blonde boy, stopping his sentence completely. You were a pretty crap teacher, Naruto said while Kakashi chuckled while he hugged the boy back. I would never hate you though, Naruto said while Kakashi's eye widened at his words. Kakashi remembered himself being in a similar position once before. It was the time that Rin had died. No, the time when he had killed her. A young Kakashi, still covered in blood of his last teammate, stood outside of the gates of the Leaf Village. He didn't have the strength to take another step. instead he could only look toward his home in horror, unable to face himself for what he did. Standing at the gates was his own sensei, who had his own somber look while Kakashi stood there frozen. The blonde man approached Kakashi while the gray-haired young man was ready for whatever punishment came his way. Instead he found himself surrounded by warmth. "I could never hate you." Kakashi remembered those words while his own voice trembled at the blonde holding onto him. What an awful irony. Naruto let go before he looked at his former teacher. "Hey, tell Iruka and the others I'm sorry," the blonde said. While he turned around quickly while Kakashi reached his hand out. His vision had seen both Obito and Rin running off along with Naruto away from him. The Jonin was devastated. Yet again, another one slips out of his hands due to his own inability to change. Oddly enough, Kakashi's thoughts went to the look on his own father's face shortly before he would never see the man's eyes filled with life again. Was throwing aside duty that awful? Kakashi pondered to nobody but himself as another name was added to his personal burdens as the rain fell running across his cheeks. Perfect timing. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. It just had to rain. Right around the time Naruto needed a fire to keep himself warm and possibly cook a meal for himself, today just refused to be his day no matter what. Naruto quickly found himself a spot where he could stay as dry as possible. It was at this moment that it was all really starting to hit him. He really just lost everything. His friends, his teachers, his one opportunity to become somebody others could recognize. He supposed that this was the way it was supposed to be. He was just as bad as the demon within himself after all. Naruto was utterly alone. The blonde curled up into a ball while the rain fell heavily around him. He felt himself sinking into that feeling, the one he always forced himself to ignore as a kid. It felt as if it was choking him. It was hard to breathe. Worthlessness. Everything he fought for, it was now so far out of reach. He couldn't become Hokage. There was no one to recognize him. No friends, no family. It was once again just him and the rain together again at his darkest hour. Should he just do them a favor and go away? Naruto hadn't had these kinds of thoughts since he was a young child. It was always like a dark hand gripping his shoulder trying to pull him down into its nothingness. Yet they would always come back. No matter how many. Believe it, he said when he was alone. Those thoughts became the strongest when he was reminded of what he was. If he died right here, would they be happy? Naruto sat there just waiting for the rest of the world to swallow him up so it could potentially end for him. At least that could be the one thing that he could end up doing right for the Leaf Village, to take out both himself and the Kyuubi. Naruto kept his eyes tightly shut. The rain was the only sound he heard until a familiar one rang, the sound of his stomach growling. It should be easy to ignore. He was used to the being hungry part, so it'll go away eventually. Yet it persisted. Naruto deliberately tried to shut out the sound of his body begging him for food. If he waited and waited, eventually his body would ask him for food again. Then it'll be over. "You hungry?" Quote. "Your stomach is growling pretty loudly." Quote. "I know a place, it's got the best food ever." Quote. "It's called Ichiraku's. I'm telling you, one good bite and you won't be hungry anymore." Quote. "Really? Wanna find out?" Quote. "Name's Iruka, by the way, you got one." Quote. Naruto. Tears fell down Naruto's face while he held one of the scrolls in his hand. He found his body moving on autopilot. Naruto kept trying to put the scroll down, but he had already unlatched it, summoning forth the item stored within it. The scent was the first thing that hit him. Naruto's eyes widened while he stared at the steaming bowl of Ichiraku's ramen in front of him. It was a homely scent that filled his NSDS, almost breathing a new life into him. "You wanna hear something crazy?" Quote. "There's a reason why your stomach growls when you're hungry." Quote. "There is. I know how easy you might think it is to just disappear, but when all else fails, your stomach is always your ally." Quote. "Why? When your stomach growls, it means you're hungry, and when you're hungry, you wanna eat." Quote. "And when you wanna eat, that means you wanna live." Quote. "So eat up and live long, Naruto." Naruto kept crying while he shoveled the ramen into his mouth while memories flooded his head. the times Iruka took to the ramen restaurant usually after bad days, the times he dragged his team there to celebrate a mission completed, all the meetings he had with his friends the Rookie 9 of the Hida. Enleaf at the restaurant, the way him and Choji would race, Shikamaru would roll his eyes, Kiba laughed obnoxiously loudly, Ino would complain about the calories, and the smiles from the old man and Ayami. Was Naruto Uzumaki really alone? Naruto drank down the broth before he sighed. The rain had begun to slow down while Naruto looked at the empty bowl before he looked further into the expansive forest ahead of him. No set path ahead of him to follow. Naruto's eyes widened as he came to a realization. He could go anywhere. He could get stronger. He didn't want to die. Naruto slapped his own cheeks before he stood up looking into the forest. They were all waiting on him. He couldn't be recognized as a shinobi of the leaf anymore, but that doesn't mean that he no longer meant anything. He wanted to see them all again one day. While a large part of his life was spent all alone and by himself, he couldn't just forget about the bonds he created and the people who were waiting to see him again, especially the people who were waiting for him to do something with himself. All right, you hearing this, Kami? I ain't dying yet. I've got friends now. I'm going to get stronger no matter what. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto yelled at the top of his lungs into the forest and open air to no one in particular. Naruto pounded a fist against his chest while he got ready to yell again. I'm going to live. Believe it, Naruto yelled, fully pushing back those thoughts that tried to drown him. The image of his team as well as the rest of the friends filled his vision while the blonde grinned as widely as he could before he grabbed another scroll. The world was a big place, filled with uncertainty and adversity. Yet, Naruto had the pleasure to have made friends all over the world. That meant there was only one thing he had to do. He had to go and visit them, of course. Naruto tore into another piece of food while tears still fell from his eyes, but there was a grin on his face. He wasn't done yet. His stomach growled that meant he was hungry, and as long as he got hungry he was going to live no matter what. No matter what the road ahead of him had waiting for him, no matter who stood in his way. Naruto was more than ready to fight for his place in the world. Normally this would have been a blessing for the young man currently laying on the roof watching the clouds pass by in the sky. Usually he will try to make out shapes that the clouds would make while lazing around. The boy could only reminisce about the times he had spent with another boy who had been quite the loudmouth on a day similar to this one. Shogi. What's a shogi? Sounds tasty. No, you idiot, it's a game about strategy. You use a bunch of pieces with different roles to try to take the other side's king. Oh, sounds complicated. It is, but it's fun, maybe. Quote, you're a weird guy, Shikamaru. Quote. You don't have to play if you don't want to. Quote. Sure, I'll play, even if it's boring. Quote. I don't do it very often, but playing with friends is never boring. Quote. The shogi piece in his hand flipped into the air before the black-haired boy caught it as it fell back into his hand. He gripped the piece into his hand before he looked back up at the sky above, a sad smirk on his face. You were the weird guy, idiot. Shikamaru Nara said while he looked at the shogi piece in his hands. You just going to sit there and brood, or are you going to say something? Shikamaru said before the sound of footsteps were heard approaching them. Shikamaru. The voice greeted in a calm tone while Shikamaru slowly turned to look toward the newcomer, Neji. Shikamaru greeted just as calmly while the Hyuga looked off to the side. I wanted to check on you. Quote, Neji said while Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at the other team. How uncharacteristically caring of you. Shikamaru said facetiously while Neji resisted the urge to roll his eyes at the crassness of the black-haired teen. How's Hinata? Shikamaru asked while Neji walked over to sit beside the Chunin, devastated to say the least. It doesn't help that most of our family supports the decision. She still hasn't left her room since the official announcement. Neji explained while Shikamaru sighed. Figured, she didn't even get a chance to say anything to him. Shikamaru said while Neji looked toward the sky, none of us did. Neji said before the pair sat in silence for a few moments, both of their thoughts in a similar place in regard to the blonde idiot they called their friend. You mind if I say something crazy? Shikamaru said while Neji looked toward the black-haired teen. It wasn't your fault, you shouldn't blame yourself so heavily. We all made it back alive, Neji said while Shikamaru let out a heavy sigh from his mouth. It should have been me and you know it. I was the commanding ninja for the operation, the brunt of this should have been my burden. Not his. Quote, Shikamaru said while Neji shook his head, Naruto wouldn't want you to feel that way. Neji said while Shikamaru nodded his head. You're right, sir, I won't. The crazy thing about this is if I wasn't the son of the Jonin commander or had a future spot on the Leaf Village's great family's council, then it would have been me walking out of those gates. Shikamaru said while Neji raised an eyebrow, you're saying this has something to do with Naruto's status? Neji asked while Shikamaru looked at the shogi piece he held in his hand before he gripped tightly. I'm saying that this entire thing had to have been deliberately made to target Naruto, or else it wouldn't have made sense to go at him directly instead of at the one in charge. Shikamaru said while Neji's eyes widened slightly in surprise, you believe that this is part of some kind of plot to get rid of Naruto from the village? I doubt Lady Tsunade would have made a choice like this, they seemed close. Neji said while Shikamaru nodded. I agree, but there could be a chance that the decision wasn't just her own. There could be more people at play here with some kind of intent. Shikamaru said while Neji looked toward the ceiling tiles they were sitting on, that's a heavy accusation. Neji said before Shikamaru just nodded his head again. Yup, Shikamaru said while Neji looked toward him, while I can't say I can exactly disagree with you, I'm just wondering even if this was a scheme, what exactly would we be able to do? Neji asked while Shikamaru held up the shogi between their faces. I'm not trying to brag, but when it comes to shogi I've unfortunately been a prodigy in the game, going nearly undefeated even against my father as of yet. Do you know who was the first person to ever beat me in the game? Quote, Shikamaru asked while Neji shrugged, perhaps your father finally gained the upper hand. Neji said inquisitively while Shikamaru merely chuckled at his dark-haired peer. Unbelievably it was Naruto. The first time we had ever played when we were kids he had won a full set of 3 games against me. The kid hadn't even seen the game before and he crushed me while I was teaching him, the so-called genius. Shikamaru recalled with a small smile on his face while Neji's expression was filled with surprise at the boy's story. That had to be the first time I had ever put effort into anything. After he beat me I studied the game even more than I did before just to beat him. Once I did, I asked him how he was able to beat me before he surprised me. Quote, Shikamaru explained before Neji's eyes went to the piece in the black-haired teen's hands. The way he held it dearly had caught his eye. Naruto, he just pointed to this piece, the pawn. I used to just send those pieces out to gain an advantage, as stereotypical as that is, yet he grinned pointing at the piece and just said they were cool. I told him they were just pawns, not much is cool about them. Shikamaru said with a shrug before he tossed up the piece before he caught it in his hands again, holding it out in front of the pair of boys, the same way he remembered a young Naruto holding he piece out to him in the past. All pieces are important, even the pawns. Shikamaru said while Neji sighed, he was an important friend to you more than you let on. Neji said while Shikamaru held the piece in his hand that read, pawn on it. Yeah, he's an idiot but he has always had a good heart. I want to do whatever I can to make sure that Naruto is safe, hell maybe even find a way to bring him back home. All of my friends are important to me, I have him to thank for reminding me of that. Quote, Shikamaru said while Neji had the tiniest of smiles on his face looking at Shikamaru's uncharacteristically passionate face. The black-haired teen must have noticed that he was making the face because he quickly dropped it. I guess Naruto has a way to cause people to break their characters. I'm with you in trying to get to the bottom of this and hopefully bring Naruto back home. It's too quiet around here. Neji stated while Shikamaru huffed, that's the understatement of the century. It looks like we've got our work cut out for us. I'm actually going to have to put in some effort again, huh? What a drag, Shikamaru expressed as usual. Though Neji knew that the boy's demeanor was different from his words, he was more than ready to do what it took. Hey, there you two are. A loud voice came from the other loud platinum blonde in the village while Shikamaru and Neji turned their faces toward the landing blonde along with a pink-haired girl who gave a simple wave with a look of confusion on her face. Have either of you seen Naruto around? Me and Ino have been looking around since we got back to the village, which is odd because you'd think we would have heard that idiot from a mile away. Sakura said while Ino took a step forward revealing a potted flower in her hand. I recognize this flower. Believe it or not, it's a little white clover I practically forced on him back in the day. I just found it with a cryptic, "Thank you," on it. Now where's the idiot so I can give it back to him? Ino said while Shikamaru slowly looked toward Neji. Guys, Sakura asked while Shikamaru broke into a sweat. He had completely forgotten that these two had been on a mission in the Land of Springs for the past week and a half along with Kurenai. They didn't even have the slightest clue. Geez, and I told him no refunds either. Why are you two acting weird? Did he do something and you're both trying to cover for him? Now I get it, he left the flower because he obviously did some crazy prank and felt bad. Well, he won't get away that easily. Ino yelled with a shake of her fist while Sakura only felt the creeping sensation that something was very wrong crawling up her back. What happened to Naruto? Sakura asked with more of her concern leaking into her voice. Neji went to speak but was cut off by Shikamaru holding his hand up in front of him, probably due to the concern of Neji's lack of tact. The lazy boy cleared his throat and looked at the both of them with as collected of an expression as he could muster. Naruto, as of 3 days ago, is no longer a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. Shikamaru broke the news before Sakura immediately slapped her hands against her mouth, her eyes widening while Ino blinked at Shikamaru before she chuckled at her lazy teammate. Her eyes went to the small flower in her hands. Hilarious, yet again Naruto's flair for the dramatic comes out. Geez, he must be paying you guys a lot to act this well for a prank. Tell him to come out and take this damn flower. Naruto, this isn't funny, don't just cryptically leave a product in front of my store. Quote, Ino yelled, taking a couple of steps past Shikamaru, calling out to her fellow blonde trying to get her attention. Sakura looked toward Ino with a sad expression. She could hardly accept it herself, but her friend was expressing straight up denial. Ino, Sakura trailed off. She could tell immediately that Shikamaru was being serious. She herself was struggling to keep her composure from the news. Guilt washed over her because she could only think about the promise asked of him. Ino, he's gone, Neji said while the girl stopped her pacing on the roof a little ahead of them. They saw her arms jerk slightly, nearly dropping the flower in her hands while looking at the expansive village. Not a single speck of orange to be found running around. Her thoughts lead back to the time her and Naruto were wearing kimonos looking out into the night sky after a successful mission. She had bugged him to relax while her fellow blonde was as gung-ho as always about getting home. He eventually caved and the two of them found a nice little spot to moonbathe, she remembers calling it. There wasn't anything too massive that happened while they were both there in that moment. She remembered the earnest look in his eyes. She remembered when they laughed their asses off at their whole fiasco of a mission. Turns out the prince liked chubby women the whole time and basically all of their efforts meant nothing in the end to their success. She doesn't remember when she started noticing, but Naruto laughed with his heart instead of his mouth when something made him really laugh. A tear ran down Ino's face while the flower in her hands gently swayed in the wind while her ponytail danced on the back of her head. Quote, I just remembered, I don't think I ever told you what this flower meant, huh Naruto? Ino lamented to the wind while the rest of the teens on the roof silently joined her, all of their thoughts all on the same orange-clad individual. Turns out you really don't know what you have. Until it's gone. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. The sound of Getter sandals clacking echoed through the hallway toward the entrance of the Hokage's office. A white-haired man's eyes narrowed as he took each step toward the door. The door quickly swung open revealing Jiraiya the Gallant, one of the three great Sannin and Toad Sage of Mount Myoboku, with a visibly upset look on his face as he faced his old friend at her desk. Ah Jiraiya, you're later than I thought you'd be. Quote, Tsunade responded calmly while Jiraiya wordlessly slammed a scroll on her desk. The scroll read, Contract, on it while the woman looked toward it. You mind explaining why on the day I came to retrieve Naruto and start his training journey, I was immediately summoned to end his contract with the Toads of Mount Myoboku? Jiraiya asked with a slight growl in his voice before Tsunade looked toward her old friend with a serious expression. The Toads are aligned with the Leaf Village. Naruto was banished from the village, therefore making his contract with them null. Make it quick. Tsunade said before she went to stamp another piece of paper before Jiraiya slammed his hand on the desk roughly. Why? Jiraiya asked while Tsunade looked back up from her paperwork. The failure of the Sasuke retrieval mission, his involvement with the Kyuubi, Tsunade said, listing off the reasons before Jiraiya growled. Are you hearing yourself right now? Naruto wasn't in the wrong for any of that, you know that just as well as I do. Jiraiya raised his voice while Tsunade glared at the white-haired man. Lower your tone. I'm the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. Old friend or not, you will not raise your voice at me. Tsunade said in a threatening tone while Jiraiya sighed before quickly looking around. Where's Shizune? Jiraiya asked while Tsunade looked back toward her old teammate. I sent her on an errand. Tsunade responded while Jiraiya sighed. Good, we can speak candidly. Now what happened? Jiraiya said while Tsunade pushed her paperwork to the side. The council had met in regard to Naruto. It had been decided there that he would no longer be a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf and be banished from The village. Tsunade said while Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Those old bastards. You never agreed with them on anything, why didn't you just ignore them? Jiraiya asked while Tsunade huffed. You honestly believe it's that simple? Like I could just constantly ignore the voices of the people all I want? Tsunade said while Jiraiya's expression softened. What did they say? What did they threaten him with? Why was it that you decided to agree with them on something like this? Quote. Jiraiya fired away questions while Tsunade's fist clenched. Did you know that even after everything he's done, nearly 70% of all of Konoha wanted him gone? Tsunade asked while Jiraiya took a step back in surprise. Even a few of the great families agreed with the decision to get rid of Naruto. Hell, the Hyuga were nearly adamant about it. Even Shikaku, the Jonin commander, said it was for the best if Naruto wasn't around. I never realized how deep the scars from that day ran through them. Quote. Tsunade said while Jiraiya gritted his teeth. He saved them and wanted to protect them. He cared about them and they just threw him away. Jiraiya asked while Tsunade closed her eyes. The blonde Hokage focused to before she responded to the white-haired man. The scars of the leaf when it comes to the Kyuubi run extremely deep. To ignore those scars as the Hokage would be a massive disservice to them. Tsunade said while Jiraiya pointed his finger toward her. That wasn't on him either. Minato wanted Naruto to be treated like a hero. He's not a monster, he deserved the chance to prove them wrong. Jiraiya passionately exclaimed while a heavy slam of a fist caused him to stagger. You think I don't know that? Do you think that any part of me enjoyed doing this? What the hell would you have had me do? Tsunade yelled while Jiraiya looked at the blonde. What the hell was I supposed to do? Tsunade trailed off while she began to tremble. Jiraiya's eyes widened as he looked at the blonde Hokage before he took a breath and weaved a hand sign. Release. Jiraiya said before Tsunade's eyes widened before they relaxed. Her very image in front of the white-haired Sannin began to fade. Slowly the room itself had begun to change. The desk once pristine looking had been heavily damaged. Pieces of a chair had been scattered on the floor, and paperwork one neatly stacked on the desk littered the ground. Jiraiya slowly turned to the sound of a quiet sob, spotting his old friend, the real one, not the genjutsu she had put up. His heart sank when he saw her, the normally strong and proud woman he had come to know throughout his life. She looked so defeated. Tsunade had a presumably empty sake bottle next to her while she sat up on the floor, her back against the wall, her knuckles slightly bloodied. Damn, I should have figured you'd see through it. Quote. Tsunade said with a crass chuckle before Jiraiya quickly went to her side, crouching in front of her. Tsunade, Jiraiya said while the blonde woman kept her eyes to the floor, a Hokage does what's best for their people, no matter what. Tsunade uttered, almost wanting to spit after saying the words. Naruto, he was so good. A heart like that only to be treated like garbage, he didn't deserve this. Yet I couldn't do a damn thing. Tsunade said while Jiraiya sighed. Is there a way to bring him back? To make the banishment null? Jiraiya asked while Tsunade shook her head. Even if there was, Danzo has the village turned against him. With a simple damn picture. Tsunade said grimly while Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Danzo, that bastard. Jiraiya said, getting up before turning toward the door. The hell are you doing? Tsunade asked while Jiraiya turned back toward the blonde. Something has to be done about that bastard before it's too late. Jiraiya growled before Tsunade shook her head. And then what? Make yourself an enemy of the village. Tsunade said while Jiraiya clenched his fist. I'd gladly do it for what he did to Naruto. A village that hates him, the same village he and his father protected, the place his mother called home. That's no place I'd want to be involved with anyway. Jiraiya said while Tsunade gave him a look. Jiraiya, they're scared. They're angry. Naruto's just a kid, but after what a lot of them had lost, I can see why they act the way they do. Quote, Tsunade explained while Jiraiya thought back to the incident itself. The entire world practically shakes at just the mention of the attack at the Leaf Village. I just wish that they would have given him the chance. Tsunade trailed off while Jiraiya huffed. This isn't what Sensei would have wanted, Jiraiya said while Tsunade's brown eye gleamed. Well, the third Hokage didn't do a very good job of preventing that, did he? Exclamation mark quote. Tsunade raised her voice, tossing the empty sake bottle at the wall, causing it to shatter before the two Sannin sat in silence. They both silently mourned the departed teacher for a moment. This was planned out carefully. Danzo used Naruto as an enemy to gain more favor with the village. If they hated Naruto, then he could unite the Leaf under that hatred. I have zero doubts that he's probably going to use this as an opportunity to try to forcefully become Hokage. Tsunade explained while Jiraiya pointed back at the door. All the more reason to do something now. I can understand the strategy of using Naruto as a source of hatred, but he's a Jinchuriki. Wouldn't it be better to keep him around as a deterrent from other hidden villages from attacking? Jiraiya theorized while Tsunade looked up toward her old friend. He can't control him, Tsunade said, causing Jiraiya to pause. Knowing Danzo, he probably thought the same exact thing at one point. However, he can't control Naruto. A Jinchuriki that won't bend the knee is nothing more than a threat to him. Tsunade explained while Jiraiya gave her a slightly puzzled look. So sending him out into the world is a better solution. He's got to be planning something involving Naruto, worst case something involving the Akatsuki. Quote, Jiraiya said while Tsunade's eyes slowly widened. We have no proof right now, a baseless assumption would only make things worse. Tsunade said while Jiraiya reluctantly agreed. This is my fault, Tsunade. I take full responsibility for all of this. Quote, Jiraiya said while Tsunade looked toward her friend. How is this your fault? I was the one who caved. It's even worse because deep down, I thought I would be protecting him from the rest of the village's hatred by sending him away, Tsunade explained while Jiraiya shook his head. I was the one who put you in this position. Sensei asked me to be the Hokage first and I turned it down, not to mention even after his death I turned it down again. If I had become Hokage instead of shoving the burden onto you, Jiraiya said while Tsunade kept silent. However, I believe in you. I always have, so I don't regret going out to find you. You are what's best for this village right now. Way better than me, Jiraiya said while Tsunade huffed. Still nothing to blame yourself for, you idiot. Tsunade said while Jiraiya shook his head. I blame myself because I was made his godfather. I swore to protect him and be there for him every step of the way. Yet, I left him to be lonely, so I can't fault Sensei for a sin I made myself. Jiraiya explained while Tsunade's eyes softened, looking at the white-haired man. Naruto scared me too, honestly, not because of the Kyuubi or even because I blamed him for anything with the leaf. I just couldn't bear to see myself mess up his life. I didn't think I was fit to be a father figure. Jiraiya said while Tsunade felt her eyes watering again. Jiraiya, Tsunade said while the other Sannin put his hand up. I was wrong, just like Minato said I would be. Now I've got to take responsibility for that. Quote, Jiraiya said while walking over to Tsunade, helping her off the ground while the woman trembled slightly. Tsunade, Jiraiya said before the blonde woman met her old friend with eye contact before he gave her a slight grin. I'm going to get him back, Jiraiya said while Tsunade blinked away her forming tears before she hugged the man in front of her tightly. Jiraiya, promise me you'll keep him safe, Tsunade said while Jiraiya hugged his old friend back just as tightly before he nodded his head. On my life, he will be safe, Jiraiya said before he released Tsunade from his embrace. He then walked toward the damaged desk where the scroll sat on a still solid part of it. Null, Jiraiya said, weaving a hand sign before pointing his palm at the contract, causing it to burn. Jiraiya, are you sure? Tsunade asked while the white-haired Sannin watched the scroll burn in front of him. This road is going to be extremely hard for Naruto, but believe it or not I have nothing but faith in him. If anyone will be able to survive the world it'll be him. I'll iron out the rest of the details once I find him, Jiraiya said while Tsunade cracked a tiny smile at the man. He still has your necklace, right? Quote. Jiraiya asked while Tsunade nodded, of course. The blonde said while Jiraiya nodded his head. Good, that should at least make it a little easier to track him down. Before that I have to make one more stop. Quote. Jiraiya said while Tsunade tilted her head slightly confused, a stop? Tsunade asked while Jiraiya took a look toward the crooked picture of Minato Namikaze on the wall of the office. Naruto is owed something. Quote. Jiraiya said before he walked toward the door, stopping briefly to turn toward the blonde Hokage. Tsunade, you're the strongest person I know. It's okay to be weak sometimes, you don't have to hide it from me at least. Jiraiya said while Tsunade looked down at her fist before she relaxed it looking back up toward her friend. Right, Tsunade said while Jiraiya gave her a grin, don't worry about Naruto and don't beat yourself up. We gotta get back at that Danzo so I need you in top shape. Jiraiya said, giving a thumbs up. Who are you trying to give me orders? Tsunade said with a chuckle while Jiraiya chuckled as well, turning to leave the room before Tsunade stopped him. Thank you. Tsunade said while Jiraiya wordlessly nodded, the grin never leaving his face as he exited the room. Tsunade turned toward the window looking at the rest of the village. She could practically still see Naruto jumping from roof to her office looking for a mission. Naruto, are you still okay out there? Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. A tree branch shook while a figure flew through the air before landing on another branch. Naruto was jumping from tree to tree quickly, the wind blowing past his whisker-like marks on his cheeks while he grinned. From what he could remember he was almost at the docks, there he would take a boat to his first stop on his world tour. The land of waves. Naruto flipped to the next branch before flipping to another one, perching on it like a bird before he took a breath. The boy was a little dirt covered and his orange jacket that he held so dearly was in tatters covering his body. The last 5 or so days in the forest had been a bit of a pain. He ran out of food scrolls on day 3. Damn his metabolism. However, the good news about it was the blonde had gotten better at hunting, if you could call better a few squirrels and an overly ambitious raccoon. Food was food, so he felt proud he was able to catch those things. If anything, Naruto pulled out a piece of squirrel jerky he mad. Quickly eating it. Still not Ichiraku's, but not too bad if I say so myself. Naruto said cheerfully before he took a look at his ruined map Kakashi had also packed up for him in the bag. So, I think the docks are left from here, Naruto said slightly confused before he looked back up, spotting nothing but trees in front of him. Ugh, stupid map. Left, right, there's nothing but freaking trees. How the hell am I supposed to find anything like this? Naruto whined loudly before he sat on the branch crisscross before he rubbed his chin in a thinking pose. Come on, think, there's gotta be a better way to navigate, think about what Kakashi-sensei taught. Naruto tried to think but only remembered Kakashi giggling to himself while turning the pages to his pervy book while they swayed through the water. Well, that doesn't help. What about pervy sage? Naruto exclaimed while he tried to remember his trip to get Tsunade with the white-haired man. Remember Naruto, when approaching a good angle one must use all 5 senses. Quote. Jiraiya explained while he was tiptoeing with Naruto following behind. Sight, the man said while looking around. Touch, Jiraiya said before running his finger on the cobblestone. Hearing, hush. Quote. Jiraiya said while Naruto gave his mentor a look of pure astonishment mixed with confusion while the sounds of water splashing were heard by the 2 males. Smell, Jiraiya said while he started to smell the air. Naruto just blinked before the Sannin nudged him. Come on boy, smell, Jiraiya urged while Naruto sweet-dropped. This seems like this for something gross. Naruto said while he reluctantly smelled the air. To his surprise he was able to smell something clearly. The scent was sweet like flowers, but it was also warm and damp. I can smell it, pervy sage. Naruto cheered before Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the boy. Quiet. You're going to get us caught, Jiraiya said in a hushed yell before he licked his finger. Taste. Jiraiya said before he placed his finger on the fence before he put it back into his mouth. Mahogany, perfect. Jiraiya suddenly jumped, causing Naruto to jump after him before the both landed on a rooftop. So did we find it? Whatever it is, it smells awesome. Naruto exclaimed while Jiraiya chuckled before he turned Naruto's head. Behold, the forbidden treasures of man. Jiraiya said before Naruto noticed the splashing of the women's bath before Naruto quickly glared at his giggling mentor. I should have known, you giant pervert. Quote, Naruto yelled while Jiraiya huffed before pointing to himself. I'm a super pervert, remember. Jiraiya yelled before an empty bucket slammed against the side of this head. The memory ended with Naruto remembering the both of them having to run for their lives. The only thing I realized was that all of my sensei so far have been massive perverts. Naruto yelled exasperated before he stood up, causing the branch he was on to shake from his sudden movement. The leaves brushed against each other making a sound before Naruto's eyes slowly widened at the leaf. Wait a minute, Naruto said before he thought back to the first time he and his team made the trip to the land of waves. The boat made a sloshing sound while it cut across the water. Naruto thought harder about how it looked. Naruto closed his eyes before listening to the area surrounding him. He could hear the leaves dancing around him. He smelled the air with a deep inhale before he caught it. Naruto's blue eyes opened before he looked toward a direction. Salty. Naruto suddenly yelled out before he dashed toward the scent as it got stronger. He always had pretty good senses his entire life, but he never thought he would use them like this. Naruto bounced from tree to tree while following the scent. Thank you pervy sage and Kakashi. Naruto yelled while he flew through the air again. Suddenly an image of Kiba making a stupid-looking face popped into his head. Well, I guess you too, Kiba. Naruto trailed off before he kept his rush going. The scent was becoming so strong to him that he could feel it burning his nose. The trees were starting to recede, meaning he was getting close to something. Naruto picked up his pace, moving quickly through the trees before after one more jump he broke through the tree line into a clearing and right in front of him was water and a lot of it. The docks. Naruto yelled before he landed, kissing the grass in front of him before he rolled around in it. Finally, I'm out of the freaking woods. Take that, Mother Nature, you can't beat Naruto Uzumaki. Quote, Naruto yelled before he chuckled, I gotta find a boat. The boy said to himself before he had gotten off the ground walking toward the rest of the docks. Is that Naruto? One of the men at the docks said while another one rolled his eyes. Haha, very funny, you know he lives at the Leaf Villa. Gee, we get your bored man, but don't play pretend. One of the other men said before the spotter shook his head and pointed. A blonde-haired kid looked around with confusion while the other man at the dock's eyes widened at the sight. Holy shit. That is Naruto, the man said while Naruto walked along the dock scratching his head. Last time they came here Kakashi spoke to them. Was there a specific one he was supposed to pick? Maybe some kind of secret boat code. Excuse me, are you Naruto Uzumaki? A sudden voice asked, causing Naruto to jump. Yeah. What's it to you? Naruto asked cautiously while the man chuckled. It really is you. Hey, do you need a ride into the village? Quote, the man offered while Naruto blinked at him. He did need a boat and this guy seemed to be kind. Sure. Naruto was cut off by the man in front of him being drop-kicked by another one of the ferrymen. Mr. Naruto, take my ferry. The man yelled before the other ferrymen got into the fray, all of them fighting over who was going to take Naruto into the village. Naruto watched the carnage in front of him, not sure whether to feel bashful or just bad at the display. I guess Team 7 is famous around here after our mission. Naruto thought to himself before he went to break up the fight. The sight of an older ferryman calmly sitting in his boat motioning for Naruto to come over. Naruto looked between him and the crowd of ferrymen fighting before he walked over to the older man. Long time no see, Naruto, you're a lot more popular than you were last time, huh? The older man joked while Naruto recognized him from their first trip. Hey, you're the old guy from the last time. Naruto exclaimed while the man nodded. Hop in, the older man said before Naruto grinned getting into the boat. The ferryman set sail while Naruto looked around at the water gently being pushed by the boat. The trip was brief, but eventually Naruto was brought to the path he had to take before. He gave the old ferryman a wave before he dashed into the wilderness again. It was a lot foggier last time he came here with Team 7, but this time he was able to see how pretty this place really was. The sun shined on the water and the grass was a healthy green. Naruto grinned while he passed by landmarks. When he really thought about it, he never did really take a look at the land around him and really take it in. Was this what freedom was like? Sure, being banished from the village was painful, and potentially not being able to see his friends again did still bother him. He couldn't help but enjoy the sensation of freely being able to go where he wanted. There was no one to call him a demon or anyone he had to tiptoe past to go somewhere other than his home. It felt nice. The boy skidded to a stop when he noticed the massive bridge now in front of him. So the old man finished it, huh? Naruto said with amazement and a sense of pride before he took a step on it. As he walked along the bridge, memories rushed into his sight. The fight they had with Zabuza and Haku, saving Sasuke, Zabuza fighting off Gato and his men. His first mission. He spotted a figure crouched on the side of the bridge placing flowers on a certain section before it got up and bowed. Oi, hate to interrupt, but do you know where old man Tazuna lives? ? Quote. Naruto yelled over, causing the figure to look toward the boy. The figure paused before she started rushing toward the blonde boy. She had long dark blue hair and dark eyes. The smile on her face grew before Naruto recognized the woman. Tsunami. Naruto. The woman called out to the boy while Naruto slowly smiled, looking at Tsunami approaching him. He grinned before he pointed a thumb toward him. The one and only. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. It's been a really long time since we've seen you, Naruto. Quote. Tsunami exclaimed while the blonde-haired boy closed his eyes in the warm embrace of the dark-haired woman. Yeah, it has. It's nice to see you again. Naruto said back while Tsunami took a step back from the boy, taking in his features before she smiled. You even got a little taller since the last time. Tsunami said with a chuckle while Naruto scratched the back of his head with a bashful grin. Oh really? Hey, guess I have, huh? Naruto said while Tsunami chuckled. Inari would love to see you too. Did you plan on entering the village? Tsunami asked while Naruto nodded. Of course, I'd love to see Inari too and the old man. Naruto said excitedly while Tsunami smiled. Good, I'll bring you to the house so you can see everyone. Tsunami said while Naruto nodded. The pair began to walk down the bridge while Naruto raised an eyebrow at a pile of flowers and candles on a spot on the side of the bridge. Hey Tsunami, what's with the flowers? Naruto asked while Tsunami looked toward them. Those flowers are for two shinobi who died on this bridge, Tsunami sa. It while Naruto's eyes widened. Those two shinobi. The blonde boy immediately remembered the faces of Haku and Zabuza as they laid on the bridge slowly dying. Naruto's face adopted a somber look while the pair stepped closer to the pile of flowers where a headband and a broken mask laid. Quote. You may find it a bit strange that myself of all people, would bring flowers for the pair of ninjas hired to kill my grandfather. Tsunami said while Naruto looked toward the gentle smile the woman had on her face. However, they were also the same two shinobi who got rid of Gato and his ganger. Allowing peace to come to my home and my grandfather to finish his bridge, so I have always thanked them since then. Tsunami said while Naruto looked back at the tribute in front of him. The blonde suddenly clapped his hands together, squeezing his eyes shut with a slight bow. Sorry I didn't bring any flowers, but thanks, and it's good to see you too. Naruto said, speaking to the two souls of the ninja he once had to face in battle, one being someone who he considered a friend and the other being someone who he could respect in his very last moments he spent trying to protect the one important to him. Tsunami smiled gently at Naruto. Let's get back before it gets too late. The dark-haired woman said while the blonde ninja nodded his head. Right, Naruto said before continuing to follow the dark-haired woman. The pair kept walking until Naruto noticed a sign T. Hey, we're passing up the Great Naruto Bridge. That's a weird name. Wait a minute, isn't that my name? Naruto suddenly yelled while Tsunami turned toward him. Oh, you didn't know? The bridge was named after you. We've been walking on it the whole time. Tsunami said while Naruto continued to freak out. Wait, but why me? I'm pretty sure Kakashi did the most work out of all of us. There was also Sasuke and Sakura. Shouldn't it be, the Great Team 7 bridge, or something? Exclamation mark quote. Naruto yelled while Tsunami chuckled before she looked around. Speaking of your team, where are they? I would have figured they would be with you. Tsunami said while Naruto deflated slightly. Well, Naruto trailed off while Tsunami shook her head. You don't have to force yourself, let's keep going. Tsunami said while she walked forward with Naruto following behind. Eventually the pair made it to Tsunami's home. The woman walked in while Naruto gawked at the size of the house. It was definite. Lie way bigger than the one he had seen last time. Inari, I'm home. Tsunami called out while Naruto stepped in behind her. This was definitely not the same house that he had seen before. Welcome back, Mom. Did you need any Naruto? Question mark quote. Inari called out, breaking the blonde from his stupor before he looked toward the smaller boy. Inari, also of course it's me. Naruto called out while the younger boy tackled Naruto into a hug that the blonde boy reciprocated. It's really you. Why didn't you send a letter or something? Inari asked while the blonde boy scratched the back of his head with his catchphrase fox-like grin. You know me, I'm the #1 most unpredictable. Naruto trailed off while Tsunami gave him a look. Yeah, you were pretty reckless. Inari snidely commented while Naruto fumed at the boy. I'll go get dinner started, why don't you two go grab father? Quote. Tsunami asked in a sweet tone while the two boys in front of her gave her a salute. Yes, ma'am. They both said at the same time before Inari started guiding the older blonde to an office space. Grandpa, look who it is. Inari called into a room where a slumbering old man sat at a desk covered in paperwork. The old man suddenly jumped up at the sound of the yell. I wasn't sleeping. Wait a minute, Inari, what are you making all that racket for? Quote. The old man complained before he adjusted the glasses on his face. Well, as I live and breathe, if it isn't Naruto. The old man said cheerfully while Naruto grinned. That's right, old man Tazuna. I'm here to visit. Quote. Naruto called out while Tazuna grinned. Well, you're always welcome in our home. Sorry for the mess, usually I'm more organized than this. Tazuna apologized while Naruto shook his head. It's totally cool, old man. What's up with all the papers anyway? Quote. Naruto asked while Inari perked up. Grandpa's the mayor of the whole village. The boy said in a bragging tone while Naruto's jaw nearly dropped. The mayor. Naruto called out in surprise while Tazuna shook his head. I'm only acting as leadership while the actual mayor is out of the village. For a conference. Tazuna explained while Naruto slowly nodded his head. Oh, that makes sense, I guess. The blonde said, not really understanding while Tazuna laughed. It's good to see you haven't changed at all. Tazuna exclaimed while Naruto grinned. Dinner's gonna be ready soon, let's go to the dining room. Inari said excitedly while Tazuna nodded. Let's go, you hungry, Naruto? Tazuna asked while Naruto nodded. Always. The boy said while the trio made their way to the kitchen where Tsunami was moving her way through with ease and grace. The sound of chopsticks being pulled apart ran through the kitchen while Naruto took in the scent of the hot pot in front of him. Thanks for the food. Naruto cheered while the rest of the family smiled toward him before they copied his gesture. The taste of broth, mustard, spinach, pork, and mushrooms graced Naruto's grateful taste buds while the boy ate heartily. Oi, Tsunami, this is amazing. Naruto complimented while Tsunami gave him a smile. I'm glad you like it. The dark-haired woman said while Inari nodded his head with pride. Mom's cooking is always the best. Quote. The boy said simply before he proceeded to copy Naruto's vigor in meal eating. Tazuna took a sip of his tea before he looked toward Naruto. Hey, so Naruto, where's the rest of your... Tazuna started but was cut off by Tsunami purposely bumped the table. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. Have you told Naruto about the bridge yet? Tsunami asked while Naruto looked up from his food. Yeah. Hey old man, what's the big idea with naming the bridge after me? Naruto asked while Tazuna chuckled. Honestly, because you were a big part as to why I even got to finish it, not to mention I hope the bridge takes some of your traits as well. Tazuna explained while Naruto raised an eyebrow. Traits? Like what? The bridge is going to turn blonde or something? Naruto asked while Tazuna shook his head while chuckling at the naive boy sitting diagonally from him at the table. I hope that like you that the bridge is able to stay strong and sturdy no matter what comes its way. Tazuna said while Naruto's expression softened while looking toward the older grinning man reminiscing about the events of the bridge. It's a bridge that will never give up. Tazuna said while the blonde boy smiled a little. Hey, so where's the rest of your team? Inari quickly asked before Tsunami shot a look toward him. If Naruto doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't have to. Quote, Tsunami said with a slight stern tone in her voice before she looked back toward the downtrodden Naruto while Tazuna frowned slightly. Honestly, I wanted to know as well. Tazuna said while Tsunami gave her father a look. Father, Tsunami was cut off by Naruto shaking his head. It's fine, it's a little hard to explain, but I'm no longer a ninja of the hidden leaf. I was banished, Naruto said before Tazuna slammed a fist on the table. Banished? On what grounds? Tazuna asked angrily while Tsunami covered her with her hand. Inari raised an eyebrow at the blonde. Banished? Like they kicked you out? Why? Inari asked while Naruto shrugged in response. Guess I just wasn't good enough. I screwed up big time and let Sasuke run away. It's 'cause I was weak. Quote, Naruto said while Tazuna seethed in his seat. Father, calm down. Tsunami said while the old man huffed. Naruto, you're one of the best ninja we've ever had the pleasure of working with. I'm calling bull on the Leaf's decision. Quote, Tazuna raised his voice while Naruto looked toward his plate again. It makes sense to me. I failed to bring him back. I gave it everything I had but I still couldn't save him, Naruto said while Tazuna gave the boy a sad expression. The village pretty much hates me again because of the whole Fox situation at the Chunin exams. Maybe it's a good thing I'm gone, you know. Naruto said while Tsunami frowned. I almost forgot, I'm acting leader for the Land of Waves. I'm gonna head to the village and give them a piece of my mind. Tazuna said while Naruto slapped his chopsticks on the table. You don't have to do that, it kind of hurts but I can't hate them for that. I'm sure at least my friends don't hate me. I have to keep moving forward no matter what. Naruto said while the family looked at the boy with surprise. That basically makes you homeless though, over a bunch of crap. Everyone makes mistakes, you shouldn't have been punished like this, so what are you going to do now? Tazuna said while Naruto just blinked, not having a response. I don't know. Right now I'm just planning to travel around and see my friends from all over but I'm not really sure. I can't become Hokage anymore. Naruto said while Tsunami looked toward her father. I think that's perfectly okay. Tsunami said while Naruto looked toward the woman. Not having dreams doesn't automatically make you worthless, you're still young. You have plenty of time to figure out what you want to have as a dream. Tsunami said reassuringly to Naruto. Really? Naruto asked while Tsunami nodded her head sweetly at the blonde. Of course, the most important part is to have fun and enjoy the journey. Quote, Tsunami said before she looked toward her father again. Tazuna caught on to his daughter's look, raising an eyebrow. Enjoy the journey, huh? I can still get stronger and I can probably see a bunch of cool places too. Quote, Naruto said slowly becoming excited while Inari smiled. Yeah, you could be like some super cool adventurer. Inari exclaimed while Naruto shook his head. Yeah, like I said, I'm not giving up. That's my ninja way. I'm going to become super strong and help people while I'm doing it. Naruto yelled out while Tsunami was motioning her head toward the blonde causing Tazuna to squint his eyes before he realized what his daughter was getting at. Oi, Naruto, traveling is pretty expensive, you'll need some money in order to properly survive out there. Tazuna said while Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Crap, you're right and I'm pretty much broke right now, Naruto said, patting his deflated Garma-chan resting in his back pocket. Tazuna grinned while Tsunami smiled at her father. If you're willing then I think I've got just the thing for you. You see the village is in need of plenty of help and having a ninja at the ready would be helpful. Tazuna said while Naruto's eyes widened. Are you being serious, old man? Naruto said while Tazuna nodded his head. Of course, Naruto, we're more than thankful for everything you've done for us. If a job is all you need then that's more than easy. Tazuna said while Naruto grinned. I accept. So when should I get started? Naruto asked eagerly while Tsunami giggled. Let's do something about those clothes first. Tsunami said while Naruto looked down at his tattered clothes. His jacket was still shredded and his pants weren't faring all that better. Right, Naruto said bashfully while the family laughed at him. They continued to speak through dinner until everything was finished and plates were cleaned. Opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket. Naruto stood in front of a small house surrounded by its own little patch of green healthy-looking grass with his old clothes bundled up in his hands. The blonde was now wearing a black t-shirt with a red whirlpool on the back of it paired with dark green cargo shorts. His old jacket and pants were tucked safely in his arms. Tazuna looked at the boy before patting a hand on his shoulder. I wish we could have gotten you something bigger, but this is the only house we had that was free. Look comfy, Tazuna said while the blonde gawked at the house. This place was way bigger than his apartment back at the Hidden Leaf. Naruto couldn't even begin to comprehend what he was supposed to with all of this space he had. Definitely, so I can seriously live here? Naruto asked while Tazuna nodded. Yup, this place is all yours as long as you need it. Tazuna said while Naruto blinked. This might be a little too nice. Quote, Naruto said while Tazuna raised an eyebrow at the boy. If this was nice to him then he would have hated to see where he lived before. Anyway, it's getting late so I'll be heading back home. Be at my office first thing in the morning for your job assignments and we'll do our best together. Quote, Tazuna said while Naruto grinned. Thanks old man. I'll be there. Believe it, Naruto said giving a thumbs up while Tazuna smiled back at him. Get some rest Naruto. Good night, the man called out while walking away. Good night, Naruto yelled back before the blonde turned back toward his new home. He went to step inside but hesitated when he looked at the bundle of clothes in his arms. Naruto then walked toward the backyard of his new home. Shortly afterward the boy had made a little fire pit, taking one last good look at his old jacket and pants before he sighed. This kind of feels like a goodbye. I think I don't really like goodbyes, huh? Quote, Naruto said to himself while the fire crackled in front of him. The boy had fond memories with the clothing but they were torn to shreds. He took a deep breath before he gently placed the clothing into the fire before he slapped his hands together, chanting a quiet thank you as he closed a chapter of his life to begin a brand new unknown one. His old jacket and pants burned slowly in the fire while Naruto sat silently as if he was hosting a mini funeral for the articles of clothing. He wouldn't stand up and go inside again until they had completely turned to ashes. The interior of the little house was clean and neat. It was one large room with a bed set beside a high window allowing the moonlight to peek through the blinds illuminating the room. Two smaller rooms were connected to the large room, one being a bathroom and the other being storage or a closet of some sort. Whatever it was, Naruto was grateful.